Enrico, I'm just going to jump into this because it's really the main question to ask here. What exactly is structured water, and why should we even care about it?
Okay, it's a good question. It took me some months, maybe a year, to understand as well what structured water is. So maybe I can give you a short story of how I came to structured water, how I arrived to that, and how I was able to put together all the pieces
Please.
and to find to give also a scientific environment to all this structured water that many times, and you can see there are a lot of products, and I'm sure there are a lot of good products in the market, but there is always a little bit of strange way of introducing and explaining what it's really happening to the water in the water charges in the structure. So I stumbled upon water charges like 3 years ago. It was 4 years ago, and it was a colleague of mine. He just showed me these chargers. Said these are amazing. They can change your life. They can change the water you drink. You can taste it differently. You can feel it differently in your skin. Just go with it. And I tasted it. He said, yeah, it's good, but I couldn't find any real difference. So I said, okay, I'm quite skeptical in this kind of approaches. So I tend to be very critical on things that I don't understand. So it's but luckily, in that moment, there was a doctor which was trained under your father. So Dr. Caputo tested the chargers with the Laker antenna, and she could immediately find a very high frequency in it. And so I said, okay, that was just the first brick to my wall of knowledge of this. I said, okay, if this is the response of the Laker antenna, I said, let's go deeper. So after a week after that, I was taken to an animal farm, to a guy in Italy who is feeding cows with this kind of water. And the first thing that I noticed was that this water, when I got down from the car, I couldn't smell the typical manual smell of a place with 1,000 cows. So I said, well, that's strange. Second thing, it was summer. There were no flies. So normally there are hundreds or maybe thousands of flies per cow. And so I said, wow, that's interesting. And so the farmer told me that since he started giving this kind of water, structured water, to his cows, he didn't have to use anymore any kind of antibiotics. Cows were happy, they grew better, they didn't have all those kinds of problems that normally they have living all together in a smaller space. And at the end of the period, they were also bigger than normal. So, and everything was because of the water. So I said, okay, that's very interesting. After that, I went to Slovenia and I met the guy who invented this water charger. His name was Igor Sajovic. Unfortunately, he passed away a few months ago, but he was 95 years old. He was an amazing man, an amazing scientist. And when I met him, he gave me a very, very simple explanation that I could understand afterwards. He said, everything is a matter of electrons. Mm. So this water is rich of electrons. And if you give electrons to your body, all the free radicals which are charged positively, they want steal electrons from the cells. And so they will they will be neutralized by the water rich of electrons, by the electrons that you put in your body with the water, and you will be fine. So this was his very simple explanation. And he said, I just I just observed how water works on Earth, in nature. You have water that is drained in the ground. It goes under the ground. It moves in vortexes. It goes through like different magnetic fields given by different minerals that constitute the different layers of the Earth. And so it comes up from at the spring, which this very big strength then it's lost during all its way to our households. But basically, this is what I made in this water charge, as he told me. I just put together what nature is doing to water. So water, when it goes inside the water chargers, it's subject to vortexes. There is an electromagnetic field. There is a special compound made of ceramics and different minerals, and it comes out charged. And so you drink this water, you bath in this water, and everything sounds good. But still, it wasn't I wasn't satisfied yet with the explanation of this. It was too easy, just electrons going up and down. And so, well, okay. Then I was able to put everything together when I finally read the book of Professor Gerald Pollack. He's professor at the University of Washington in Seattle, and he discovered what he called the fourth phase of water. So what he noticed is that when you take a hydrophilic material and you put it in water, you can notice that water separates into charge. There is a negatively charged water that goes near the hydrophilic surface, and positively charged water goes away from the surface. So this part of negatively charged water, he called it easy water, so exclusion zone water, because it's a part of water where there is nothing else but negatively charged water. So it came up and said, since our cells are made of hydrophilic material, so all the body that is in our body, all the water that is in our body is made of easy water, so negatively charged water.
That's really fascinating, and I want to get to that because you're basically saying there are different types of water, right? And you're going into the science of H2O2 versus H2O3, which
Correct.
Professor Pollack recognized as another endogenous water source within us. But before we even get there, that idea of water having different sets of quality is something most of society does not pick up on. Water is water to most people, and people drink tap water and they find it fine. I go all the time to restaurants with different people, and they'll ask for tap water, I'll ask for bottled water, and suddenly I'll be looked at funny because what's the difference? Why am I paying for water? Now, can you help us and explain a little bit the difference between tap water that is purified, fluorinated, everything else, the filtered water that we usually find in bottled water, Poland Spring, whatever else out there, and then structured water through Infinity Water Chargers. And that is the name, of course, of the company you're dealing with, is Infinity Water Chargers. And just to give a little context, it's basically a tube that you would put water through, a metal tube, almost like a pipe, that then does this, that structures the water. But let's go back to, can you go into that difference and explain the difference? Tap water, filtered water, structured water.
Okay. So tap water is what we find everywhere in our households. And I know that in America, it's field of chlorine, as we have in Italy too, and it's filled of fluorides that fortunately in Italy we don't have. And I know that they are causing a lot of problems. Chlorine has a lot of problems, especially when you breathe it. Luckily, when you drink it, you are able to in some way process it. But when you breathe it, when you inhale it, it's not good at all. Anyway, I'm not here to explain that, because I'm sure that there are many people that are so much prepared, more prepared than me on this matter. The fact is that water arriving to our households has done so much, such a long pathway through a lot of, and it's so stressed by a lot of materials, a lot of electromagnetic field that is going through. So it's really a water that is, it's water because it's H2O, but it has lost a lot of qualities. And unfortunately, science normally doesn't recognize quality in the water. And also because historically, the few scientists that tried to go and study quality in water, they always hand badly, because they were quality in water is still something, a field of research, and a lot of famous scientists, like also Nobel laureates, found very interesting things, but they weren't recognized. Their work wasn't recognized by the rest of the scientists, so they ended up like being ostracized by the system. So that's why probably it's very difficult to talk about the quality in the water, even though there are a lot of studies, but there is not yet probably still science is not ready probably to welcome this kind of thoughts and this kind of theories. So, but there are a lot of good experiments that have been successful on this field. Anyway, this is tap water, so it's normally water that it's chemically it's fine. It's a fine water, but it still has some kind of pollutants. So there are sometimes, depending also on the town you live, you have different kind of water. Luckily, in Italy, we have kind of quite a good quality in tap water, I have to say, even though chlorine is very strong. So we try to filter it before. So we try to filter it in the house. We filter them in the restaurants. The idea in Italy mostly is to avoid plastic water, plastic bottles. So we started filtering things. Even though filtering is something that has to be done well. Otherwise, you risk to have a poor quality water as well. Anyway, filtering, there are different levels of filtering. There are physical filterings. There is a reverse osmosis kind of filtering. So it's a very fine and filtering that takes out mostly everything from water. So you have also, in this case, to be careful to add after that some kind of minerals inside. Otherwise, water is too poor in minerals. So the difference is basically probably in the security. I think that in America, that's the main issue. Filtered water is able to take out a lot of pollutants. It's able to take out microplastics that are a real problems right now, because we are producing so much plastic, and plastic more little by little is dissolving and is deteriorating. So these microplastics, all our fabrics that are made of synthetic materials are just losing microfibers that they all go in the water, and we all finally end up drinking them. So filtered water is a good thing, I guess, I would say. Structured water is a completely different thing. It's working on the quality of water, as I said before. So since there is it's a sort of charging negatively water, structured water tend to create the easy water, is exclusion zone water, which is a water that takes tend to exclude everything else. So it's sort of actually Professor Pollack worked on it. I don't know if he was able to take it to the market, but he was presenting a sort of filter that he was working on hydrophilic material, because in this case he was able to completely isolate easy water from the rest of water. So that way he was able to produce perfectly filtered easy water, and that was a very interesting thing. So these are the differences. I hope I was clear enough. But
No, absolutely. And I could recap that a little bit quickly, because I know tap water, you're talking about heavily polluted water. Even in New York, they say it's the best, right? Water in New York, very filtered. You will still find antidepressants in there. You'll find antibiotic remnants in there. You'll find chlorine, fluoride, which calcifies the pineal gland. We just did a whole project on that.
I read your email.
Yeah, there's so much that I have to say that, of course, you won't drink a glass and suddenly be sick, but you drink enough and it's not going to be healthy for you, is the point. And there are many documented research papers about that, what is in the actual water. And you do not want these things in your body. So you need to avoid that. When you move into filtered water, you could have some great filtration process that show you almost get to zero in the water. And they have a little reading and you put it in and you basically show no fluoride, no nothing. In many ways, you may have unadulterated water, but it's considered dead water in some ways. On that quantum level, energetic level, it's not really hydrating you, is what I've been told by some experts. Whereas when you go to structured water, that on the quantum level is providing you with a very high quality source of water that your body is more readily available to use within itself to do everything it needs to do. And water is incredibly important. 60 to 70%, even born babies, we are water. That's it. Yeah, and if you talk about the two, most important things for life in general, it's air and water. And both of those we polluted terribly to where we need air filtration, we need water purifiers, all these things. But we forget about that one element, which is that deep down qualitative understanding of it. And are you familiar with Masaru Emoto's work in water crystals?
Yeah.
So, there's a wonderful book, The Hidden Messages in Water, that Masaru Emoto work about human thoughts and consciousness impacting the crystallization of water. When it's frozen, it looks certain ways, and it could either be this beautiful crystal that is very symmetrical and looks gorgeous, or it could be this very dirty, nasty looking thing. If you imbue it like tap water alone, would be something that you'd look at and think that's dirty swamp water. And that's what the crystallizations do. And you state, I read this, that water can memorize information just as a computer.
Correct.
Can you go into that a little bit? Because I have learned through understanding alchemy and spagyric medicine and European biological medicine that water is, in fact, an incredible carrier of information. And at the bottom level, if you go all the way down to what guides us and what guides us towards health, regeneration, it's information. If you have the wrong information, the cells don't know what to do, they can't regenerate, and you go into a disease state. If you have the right information, they regenerate, you have normal functioning, you could heal yourself better. And again, if we're 60 to 70% water, that information better be in there. So can you go into that, how water can memorize information a little bit, and how these water chargers help in that aspect?
Okay, so I can tell you two things. First of all, there was an experiment run by Professor Luc Montagnier, together with the Italian staff of physicists like Emilio Del Giudice. He was another big scientist that worked with water. And there is a good movie on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube about this experiment where they put some a part of DNA in water, and they started diluting until there was no part, no DNA left in the water, and then they were able to take to transform that the signal of that water in a file, in a computer file, and they sent it by email to a computer in Italy. And in Italy, they were able to put the information of the file into water again, and they got a very large chunk of the DNA that was firstly in the water in France. So this was an amazing documentary, just proving that there is information in water. What also Professor Del Giudice found was that the water was able to synchronize itself in what he was calling the state of how do you call it? Just a moment, I'm losing the word. I'm just finding the word.
You could say it in Italian.
Okay, yeah, there was the coherent state of water.
Okay.
Where water are like synchronized. They are in a moment where all their movement, all their state is perfectly synchronized. And I have a friend. She's an excellent shiatsu teacher, and she's a physicist too. And she was also an assistant of Professor Del Giudice. And what she's saying is that's how all the Chinese meridians work, because there are no meridians. If we take a section of our body, we cannot find the Chinese meridians. Mm-hmm. But the meridians are made from this moment of coherence of water. And so information can travel through meridians. And that's how or Chinese and Oriental medicine work. So that's a very interesting thing. And it's interesting seeing how modern science is putting things together and everything is going in the same direction.
It's very true that, we're just catching up right now. I was actually at a meeting. I was lucky enough to be at a meeting in Paris with Professor Montagnier and some quantum physicists around a table. Amit Goswami, some, big name theoretical and quantum physicists. And they got into that discussion about water information. And it was so clear to them that this is, of course, water carries information, of course. And they proved that through that experiment you just told me. And he was doing lots of studies. I mean, and here's the thing. They're proving it now, but traditional Chinese medicine knew about this. You look at something as ancient as homeopathy. It's just information. You're diluting stuff and you're just trying to get the information. And you look at any kind of DNA, what is it? It's information. How do we know to have 5 fingers instead of 4, when we're growing in a womb? That's just information. How do cells interact with each other and know exactly what to do? Billions, trillions of processes every single second that keep you alive. Information. So when you look at it a little differently, water is not just water. Water is not just something we just need to hydrate ourselves. It's truly providing us with information from nature where it should come from. That goes into us and tells us what to do, but we've corrupted it so much by fluorinating, by putting all these things in it, by running it through lead pipes that, you're right, take out electrons and basically make it inactivated to the point it gets to us. It's a polluted source of dead water. So I do see a huge, huge necessity for something like Infinity Water Charger and charging it. And again, science is now proving this with quantum theory and physicists kind of showing that information is a vital part of health. So can you tell us what exactly is in this charger that is able to do this? I know you touched on this briefly before with the crystals and minerals and a vortex, but can you explain it to someone that's kind of thinking, what is, what's doing this? Okay. How is this so magical?
Right. So there is nothing magical.
Good.
So water, when it goes inside the water chargers, it's running vortexes. So vortexes have been known for centuries that are able to give different qualities to water. just think of water coming down from a stream as a completely different energy than that water in a swamp. So it's and that's a vortexing movement. After that, it's going through a magnetic field, and it's run through a ceramic compound that is made also of different kind of minerals. Minerals emit infrared, and it's this infrared energy that is changing the quality of water in the water charges. What Professor Pollack demonstrated is that this is easy water in our bodies is affected by light. So whenever you are at light, your easy water increases. You can find a lot of evidence on YouTube, on the internet, and that's also so light and infrared light specifically is the reason why water is structured. Structured water works like a battery. It's a battery for our cells. So all this negative charge must arrive from somewhere. Otherwise, it will be depleted after a while, and it's charged by infrared light. This is what we found.
So within this, infinity water charger, this tube, this metal tube, you're finding all the ceramics and everything else. In essence, isn't it creating an environment that you see in nature? Meaning infrared light, sunlight, you're going to get some, all the different rays, sunlight. Yeah. Running water through rocks, you get it through ceramic, you get minerals, you get the purification running water. So in essence, you're trying to replicate what nature has done for, eons basically, in providing natural water that is very, very healthy, that we no longer drink that water, of course. We drink from tap and everything. We don't go to our, running spring in the back and collect cold natural water and drink that. But it would be very similar, correct?
Yeah, correct. The idea of Igor Savich, the inventor of the infinity water charger, was really that one: replicate what happens in nature to water. So that's why he created these vortexes. This is why he created these electromagnetic fields that you can find in different layers of the earth, the minerals that you can find. And so this is how it is. But also, for example, the so-called miracle water that you can find in Lourdes, or in his opinion, they were just waters, very strongly structured water, that in those areas were able to come out particularly strongly charged.
And in some ways, you could say that the impact of making it into a highly conscious place would also impact that as well. Meaning it's already structured, but then you bring about this idea of prayer, meditation, anything else that Emoto would probably say are positively structured conscious thoughts, energy, basically around that. Just as if you had some kind of a war or something, the water there, death, misery, everything else could be structured negatively. And again, that's just information, right? So all these places, Yeah,
that's more related to the information that water is able to elaborate, to bring with itself. So that's true. For example, a good application. I think we are having a lot of success with the charger. Is putting together the chargers and some frequency generators that we created. And so, for example, we are able in agriculture to get rid of some kind of infestant bugs, like stinky bugs from vineyards or apple trees. We are able to get rid of mosquitoes from the gardens.
I want to ask you about that. I don't want to go there just yet, because you're making basically a natural, insecticide then, completely with water, and it's in the information, not using chemicals. So that's really exciting. I want to get into that. But first, I do want to go into this idea. I was going to touch on the idea that even ceramics are used are really incredible to me, because I have known in looking at electromagnetic fields. Ceramics do a wonderful job. There's a company out of France called Biosyntony that Pierre Nicolas started that he uses ceramics to then change the vortex, change the spin, and actually protect you from electromagnetic radiation, man-made radiation.
Correct.
So that you're using it in water as well makes so much sense to me when I heard, oh, ceramics, of course. Why wouldn't you use that? Because it's a natural compound that actually changes and provides different information, different spin to the water. So you have it really structured, then I could totally see that. But looking at it from a consumer perspective, knowing that I don't live on a well, provided water source, and that I'm going to probably still be drinking my water from tap water or from the sink, let's say. Utilizing an infinity water charger, would I not want to include a purification process as well? Only due to the fact that the water charger will not be removing fluoride, chlorine, and these other things, correct? Do you see that people are combining this infinity water charger with a purification system?
There are active carbons work very well to absorb and take out chlorine, fluorides from water. There are some very thin filters that are able to block everything that is bigger than 0.1 to 0.5 microns. So everything that is like bacterial spores, they're able to take out microplastics. So I think it's already just being able to get rid of those. It's already a big step, a big improvement in water quality. After that, we go through the water charges, and I think you can get a really good water at that point.
Just to recap, because I kind of lost you a little bit in the beginning there, internet connections. We were talking about this Mercury retrograde. We'll blame it on that. You're saying that, yes, there are good water chargers out there that you could add at the beginning point and then run it through the infinity water charger to structure it after it is already purified?
Yeah, correct. A good water filter before and after that water charger. What is important is to keep quite a good pressure in water so water charger can work
I see. And what about mineralization? Because you said that. A lot of times the water here in a lot of these filtration systems is demineralized. You're taking the minerals out. Would you recommend, and there are systems that re-mineralize water as they're coming out, that run it through a process to get the minerals in?
For what I know, normally you need to remineralize it just when you use a reverse osmosis system.
Okay.
Because in that case, basically reverse osmosis creates a sort of distilled water, more or less. So at that point, you need to put back some of the minerals you need for yourself. So you need to be careful of that. But normally, reverse osmosis system suppliers will tell you how to do that.
There's a number of people out there, you just brought this up, that will use distilled water as a source of drinking water. How does that compare to structured water, and why should you lean towards structured water over distilled water?
Well, I think distilled water is basically went through a process of distillation, so it's mostly dead water, in my opinion. So there is nothing natural in this kind of water. Natural water is rich of minerals, so it's a different kind of element.
And I'll back that up, just knowing from the patient base we see at the clinic here that so many people are mineral deficient. So many people do not have magnesium, the copper, all of these that are essential. And we forget about this. We like to say that we don't have vitamins. Vitamin D, we're not outside enough, so we take vitamin D supplements. But what's even more important than vitamins in many ways are minerals. Minerals are incredibly important to the body. And again, too many people are deficient of minerals, aren't getting it. And the one big source you could be getting it from is water. But we are drinking dead water with no minerals, and that's part of the problem. And we're not properly hydrating with minerals that together really work in a synergistic manner to keep us functioning optimally and healing. So This is very, it's really important to understand why minerals are essential and why not just stripping water to pure H2O and that's it is enough. You need more than that.
I think probably one of the biggest problem from my point of view is that we're just talking about chemistry, but we are not only chemistry, we are electric, we are magnetic, we are a mix of everything. So if we take care of chemistry, we have also to take care of electricity in our body. And electricity is given by minerals because we need different potential to create this, to have this electricity running. So a mineral gives us this opportunity. So we need to be careful of a lot of things. That's why the more we work things, the less the far away we are from what nature is giving us normally. The best structured water is the water we have from fruit and vegetables. It's already structured and it's already rich of meat.
It's already naturally structured, right? And I do have to say, if you're having a hard time comprehending this, and you are still, I wouldn't say stuck, but in a chemical understanding of these things, we're speaking kind of two different languages. If you put a quantum physicist and a chemist together, they won't be speaking the same language. It'll be like someone speaking Chinese and English. They're both right. It's not to say that chemistry is wrong in a wrong science. It's chemistry is part of the science, right? It's part of the understanding of that, but there is even a deeper understanding. That's the difference between a chemical reaction to try and get energy and a nuclear fusion reaction. Which one do we use to really produce energy? The nuclear one. That's quantum physics. We don't use many chemical type of reactions anymore because they aren't as efficient in producing real energy that we use as electricity. So that's a little bit of the analogy, and it's not to say one is right or wrong, but you do have to go past a pure chemical understanding in biochemistry to understand structured water and the importance. But I think it is a very important one here. What are some of what can one expect when they start using structured water through infinity water charges? Do you feel it immediately? Do you feel more energy? What is it that someone would expect?
Well, there are many people feel more energy. Many people feel better. Some people that maybe have some stomach problems, they start feeling relieved from that. There are so many uses of structured water that there are people that they just love bathing in structured water.
What's the benefit there? Because I do know you have a shower application, and so you have different applications of this, correct?
Yes.
So I think, right? Different chargers.
Yeah, correct. Chargers we can use them like in faucets directly or in showers, but you can also, we have done models that can go directly on the water system of that house, so serving everything.
Right, as it enters the house, you'd put it on that main pipe, right? Yes.
Correct. And so you take care of the house. We have different solutions. We have also travel chargers, so you can take it with you wherever you go. Just screw it, and that's it. So there are a lot of people like to bath in that because at the end, the skin is the biggest organ we have, and it takes so much. So especially if you just put your feet, you soak your feet in structured water. There are so many also seasons that you take out a lot of toxins from your feet.
So it has an anti-aging and beauty effect as well, correct?
Yeah, a lot of ladies that use these chargers, they told me they stopped using hydrating lotions because their skin started being naturally hydrated. A lot of people spray this water when they go to the sun, to the beach, instead of putting sunscreen. They keep spraying this water, and there is a natural protection of the skin. So there are many, many uses.
Those are some incredible applications. And again, you may have a hard time grasping that, but I want to get back to what we started before, using this in agricultural purposes, because that has a direct correlation. I've seen some of the work that you put out there showing the difference and sharing the experience of people using it on things that, of course, require water to grow. You'll see it right away, right? Like you said, going to the farm, using this in different applications. So can you go a little bit into that on what the farmers or agriculturists have seen utilizing this water? Because again, I know different areas of Italy use incredible spring water. In Bergamo, we used to have a company that we worked with that grew their herbs and plants used in different medicines in the Bergamo region, which is where San Pellegrino is from. Yeah, and correct. They use the spring water, but they also ran it through different minerals before it reached the water, and it was very charged, they would say. And that made the structure of the plants much stronger. So what they call the signatures, even the size, the smell, all these different things, and the phytonutrients in it were much stronger than elsewhere. So what is your experience with infinity water chargers and even spraying this on plants that are growing vegetables, fruits?
Yeah, so plants are like us, are like human beings, like animals. So also the lymph that is running through plants is just easy water as well. And that's also the reason why it's able to go up for sometimes meters and meters of the biggest trees. There is no physical explanation. The only explanation is given by easy water, just like the explanation that maybe we'll go later, but how blood is running through our veins or our capillaries, and it's not the heart pumping it because it's not able to do it.
Right. It goes against scientific principles, what we're able to do in the circulatory system. That's true. You can look that up if you're listening.
and that structure, the structure water inside our body that is giving the movement to blood through the vessels. The same thing is in the plants. So whenever you give a better water to the plant, and consider that fields are full of any kind of fertilizer, chemical fertilizer, weed killers, anything that has been put. So water is very poor also for agriculture. So what we saw in Italy is that when we start giving structured water to the plants, they react much better. They are able to sort of be growing much stronger, able to grow among other herbs or other pet herbs. So without the need of putting weed killers, they are able to grow by themselves and to take care of the environment by themselves. So we studied some protocols to convert, let's say, chemical agriculture to chemical-free agriculture or chemical-less agriculture. We don't want to be so radical. Sometimes chemical can be useful too. So, but there is a way to go and to see that. Also, because structured water is able to bring information better to the plant. So, even though you use, for example, biodynamic approach, you need less product to give the plants. If you use chemical agriculture, you need to use less chemicals because water is able to bring better the information to the plant, structured water. So you have a lower impact in the environment, and you have the same results or even better results. We have very, very good results with vineyards. All the area of the Prosecco up north there are a lot of applications of this kind of agriculture, and we are very good results with olive trees. We are successful also fighting Xylella in the south. There is a problem with the fungus that is killing all the century-old olive trees in the south, but we are able to take care of that. We are able to get rid of the fly from the olive tree that is ruining all the olive harvest. So there's so much that we can do with this kind of water, which is actually the water that it should be in nature. So that it's only that thing, it's nothing else. That's the most important thing. We're not creating nothing fantastic or fun. We don't have nothing that is uh,
You're not
scientific.
creating
It's just
something that
natural.
wasn't there before, correct? You're just
Correct.
bringing it back to its natural,
Correct.
preordained sort of state that
Correct.
was very structured, very energetic, very healing in a sense. That's why this earth is covered with water in the same percentage our bodies are. I mean,
Yeah,
those aren't certain just, coincidences. I feel like it is a very, unique circumstance that there is this much water on this planet, this much water in us, the fruits, everything requires this water. When you go into something like you have now a mosquito type of repellent, you could say almost water charger. That's where I feel like people like, wait a second, how does that work? I understand structured water, maybe even a little bit, and having those crystals and easy water and, changing even the molecules themselves within structured water. But how is it that you're able to repel mosquitoes with water?
Okay, so basically, our scientists were able to create these to isolate some frequencies that mosquitoes don't like, basically. And since structured water is able to bring information, these frequencies are transferred to structured water. So water is run through the water chargers, then then the frequency generator puts this kind of information in the water, and then we can use this water to water the garden. It's not immediate; it takes a while, so like a month, 2 months, depending on the place. But when you water your garden once, twice a day with this kind of water, little by little, the ground is filled of this frequency, and and so the frequency will build up and build up, and mosquitoes will not hatch anymore in this kind of environment. They don't like it. They go somewhere else. And so you have a garden free of mosquitoes. Maybe some mosquitoes will always come. They come from your neighbor, but you won't have hundreds of mosquitoes around you when you are in your garden. You will have some of them, but most of them you will get rid. And I have a good example. I have a friend here in Florence. He has a very beautiful villa in the hills around Florence, and he's a very careful guy, and he's very attentive to all this natural approach. And he was very tired of keeping spraying chemicals every week because he has a lot of guests coming to this beautiful villa. And he said, "Okay, let's give it a try." And he was very, very happy. And we fine-tuned. We understood that sometimes when you have the moment of maximum presence of mosquitoes, you need to water 2-3 times a day, but you are able to keep it in control, under control, and you finally have your garden back without chemicals. So
it's really astonishing when you think about that, and you think about the applications. You think about places like Africa where malaria is very present. Then you think about the application in agriculture, which has become a huge polluter of our planet. And they're also demineralizing the earth and using all sorts of chemicals, and it's getting in. And of course, GMO, you talk about our food sources. All of these different applications that you can utilize water, structured water in, to improve the situation can have an incredible impact, not just on us and our health, but the health of this whole earth. So that's what gets me excited, because when I was a little bit younger, I would say, and starting the company, I was more excited by technology. What's going to be the next thing that a scientist discovers that we've never seen before? How are we going to apply it? But as I've been in this for now a few decades, I realized that we probably have to look more to nature in the past to find out the solutions that will guide us into the future of being healthier and happier. And that's precisely what you're doing. And I found that the best technology, we could use technology, of course. It's not to knock technology and say, let's go back to the old ways of the past. Everyone grow their own garden and stop working so hard, get rid of your computers and just live a very, 1800s type of life. No, it's applying technology to bring back the natural impact that is healthy for us. So even things like, I don't know if you know the therapy biocharger is a therapy that utilizes a Tesla coil, different ones, we utilize it here. It looks very interesting. All it's trying to do is produce the frequency that Earth is giving us to cause cellular regeneration.
Correct.
So in this state, that's what you're trying to do to water, is basically state, we've corrupted it through different ways. We've made it not water anymore and added so many things to it that you can't even recognize it really. What you're trying to do is bring it back to a state that was utilizing technology in a sense to create this water charger. It's not an easy feat, I'm sure, to get everything in there and make it work, but you're really bringing it back to where it needs to be. So there is nothing artificial about this. And you're serving as a catalyst within this charger to create water that is useful to us. That is, again, something that was used for decades and for eons and so long throughout Earth that allowed us to stay healthy when we were back there. Is that the basic principle here, what we're going with?
Yes, it is. I think we've been, as humanity, we've been so arrogant in the last decades, in the
Incredibly
last century, and we were thinking that we are able to bend the rule of nature to our will, but everything is now reverting towards us, and we have to go back and to study nature with the humility that we need to have to approach it and to really study it. And also, for example, you mentioned Tesla's coil, and for example, on my other job, I work with the infrared heating, and our scientists are going so deep in finding that it's not. We just work. We were like basically at the moment. I would say we moved like an elephant in a crystal store right now. So we use electricity in a manner that was so big. So we just need very little electricity. We need to learn to use the subtle energies, not the big energies.
You get so much more efficient with subtle energy, correct?
Because nature is working on subtle energies.
Yes.
Our body works on subtle energies. We need to learn from and using them instead of just going like we have done up to now. So I think that's the most important thing. That's the next step that we need to do as humanity. And of course, on my side, I try to do my little part. I'm not I'm just a dealer, so I'm just a distributor. So I'm just representing the thought of the people that I've been producing and studying this system. So I'm just like an ambassador in this kind.
But you're doing a great service for something that's vitally important and overlooked. I mean, too many people just, again, accept water as water. They'll drive really nice, high-quality cars. They'll understand when it comes to cars, Ferrari, you guys know it in Italy. Ferrari, Lamborghini, those are top-quality cars. And you'll pay for that top-quality car, yet when it comes to putting things inside our body, we never look at quality. We say a vitamin, food is food, it's all the same. And somehow you don't say that about a car ever. It's never all the same. We look and stare in awe at the Ferrari that drives down and purrs beautifully with its motor.
What is the difference between a Ferrari and a different car? It's the quality of the materials, the quality of the engineering, it's the quality of how it is made. So it's quality. It's a matter of quality. And so the same is different food. What is a gourmet food from a fast food? Different is quality. And water, the difference is quality from simple tap water, polluted tap water, and structured water. The difference is quality. That's what we have to focus on, I guess.
What has been the reception so far? Because you've been doing this a short amount of time, really. This is a somewhat new product, you could say. How have people received it in general from your experience?
People that are aware of that are by themselves searching, they are very interested, and they normally buy the charger. They are happy, and they feel the differences. They observe the differences because they are subtle differences. So you have to learn to observe them. So I think then we have also the other part of people that are very skeptical, which is normal. There are also a lot of new applications that we are working on, and so it's like a world that is opening, and so it's also difficult sometimes to find the financing to follow up all these applications, but.
Well, if you could patent water, it'd be a different story, right? I'm sure Big Pharma may be knocking at your door if this was the water.
They're trying to make it private, a private product. So
of course,
that's the first step. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, from our experience, because we've recommended this to patients, we've been using it ourselves at the clinic. It is nuanced improvements. It is that understanding of feeling a little bit more energy, feeling a little bit more recovery, better sleep, all these things that are, again, if you looked at it on a day-to-day, it wouldn't be significant. But that's the beauty of, I think, healing in general is never on the short term. It's always on the long term. You are playing this, in this life, play the long run. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And
it's a marathon.
And when you use something like structured water, you're always adding to the longevity of the marathon, I think. You're increasing your chance of living healthier longer, and you're taking the right action for something that is so important, water, 60 to 70% of our body, in improving that quality. You are basically putting in that very, very high quality gas into your Ferrari. And we are all our own Ferraris in a sense, so why wouldn't you invest in that, correct?
Yeah, correct. So, yeah, you don't put a diesel in a Ferrari, a dirt diesel in a Ferrari. You put
never.
Yes. So this is what the basic. And also, speaking of marathons, studies are looking at you don't need to put so much water, but it's important to put the quality of the water. There are sometimes there were cases of marathon runners dying because they drank too much water during their run. So it's a matter of the quality of water that you put inside your body.
You're right. The quality of anything you could reduce, because I was speaking to someone, they basically said they've seen patients, doctors have seen patients that are constantly drinking water, tap water. Fill up their plastic jugs, 1 gallon, drink a few of those a day, which is, several gallons and probably too much water, but still almost in a dehydrated state and still not feeling good and not expelling as much as they should, whereas they could drastically cut down the amount, drink higher quality water, structured water, and get a vast improvement from that.
Yeah, correct. And actually, we have we have a laboratory exam that proved that drinking structured water increases muscle activity, and also after that's an immediate effect of drinking structured water. So it's interesting to see how immediately the charge that you get from structured water goes directly in the muscle activity, and also we the result of a heartbeat regulation.
Mm-hmm.
After more or less 20-30 minutes after drinking this water. So tests were run by a Slovenian laboratory called Bion. It's quite famous in running all this kind of tests on.
Are those available to share with us?
Yeah. I'll send you a copy of it.
Yeah, because I'd love to put that up. Anyone listening, you can go to our website with this podcast when it comes out and look into that, because I know people love to go down the rabbit hole and they want to prove that something works, which I understand. Like you said, a healthy dose of skepticism is a right way of going about it. It just has to be across the board. If you're skeptical of this, then be skeptical of regular water too. Look into that a little bit. Look into tap water. Look into all different. Don't be skeptical of just one side. be skeptical of all of it equally,
Yeah,
I say.
it's a good point. We take too many things for granted just because we are used to it.
That's right. And I think we're
Yeah.
seeing it more than ever in 2020 that, we find ourselves on one side or the other.
Yeah, correct. This is a period where we need to learn to be skeptical.
We have to learn to be skeptical with an open mind, correct? Because something like this, you hear some people say, what are they taught? Structured water is water. I spray it on me, it washes me, that's it. Why would I spend any money on structuring it? But this is where skepticism, okay, but look at it with an open mind. Don't write it off without looking into it and really, learning about the science. As I said, and you said, there are Nobel laureates, incredible minds behind this that would say, of course, this is something we've known for a very long time.
And also, I would say, scientists who already arrived at the top of their careers, putting everything in jeopardy just to study water and to go beyond what is normally accepted by scientists, and accepting the challenge and say, okay, I put everything in play, and I'll play with my reputation, but I want to go deeper and to understand. And this is a big act of courage that I would say this kind of scientists put and showed us. And so this is how we should act, actually, really, like being curious and study and inform ourselves. This is what I was taught for many years, just be curious and skeptical and study. So it's something important.
It's massively important. I am glad there are curious people out there looking into this and questioning things. And I think there is a general movement to understand the quality of water. Now you hear about these things, Flint, Michigan, there were lead in the water, it's terrible for, and all these things are coming out. And we are hearing more and more about all these things in our water and how it's impacting us. So I do believe there is a movement that's starting, and it probably has already been there in some different markets and niches, but it's moving into understanding quality of water is incredibly important. How are you going to go about that? And here you have this solution that you helped to bring out there with great minds behind it in Infinity Water Chargers. So where can people learn more about this, purchase this?
So, well, of course, I invite them to visit the infinitywaterchargers.com website. They can find some information. They can drop us a line. We'll be happy to provide them with a lot of testimonials, people that share their experiences, data that we were able to collect from applications that we have. We can inform them about new applications that we've been doing, we are working on. I suggest to watch videos of Professor Pollack explaining his water. There is also another doctor, his name is Tom Cowan. He wrote a book about cancer and water, and I think there are a lot of good hints on that too. There are a lot of scientists working on water. It's this interesting movie about Professor Luc Montagnier, about Professor Emilio Del Giudice. So a lot of things coming up together, and so and then also you can do little experiments in your house as well. If you take a water charger, this is what Eagle, the inventor, told me. Just go home, I put it on the website, just make a little experiment. Take a jar of normal water, tap water, take a jar of charged water, and put an egg yolk on both of them. And keep them separated because there might be some electron change even if you keep them close, and just watch them after a few days how they react. And I could see that the egg yolk in the tap water just dissolved and got rotten after a few days. The egg yolk in this charged water was perfectly fine. Water was crystal clear after a week. So that means that in some way, charged water kept the yolk as it was, perfectly as it was after a few days. So that was interesting. Another little experiment that I've been doing was just uh, taking some big jars of water and putting them in the corner of your house. And you will notice that there is much less dust in the house because all these electrons coming out from the water are in some way uh, uh, taking down, eliminating dust.
Right, they bond with the dust molecule.
Yeah, correct. For example, one of the, and these are little experiments you can do in your house. You can also, for example, play with your pets. You can give them two different water to drink, and you will notice they naturally go to the charged water instead of the normal tap water. So these are little tricks, and they're also fun to do. So you can try them on. You can water your plant. You can see different reaction in plants. These are little things that I encourage people to do, to start observing things. And speaking of dust, for example, we have an application. We have done the first application in Italy using one of the big charger, the IMH 1000, which is a big one used for industrial use. With that one, putting this kind of water on a tower, like about a 20 feet high tower, we are misting water in the air, and we are able to eliminate small particles like the PM10, PM5 particles that are the big pollutants in our cities right now, in a radius of 1 kilometer.
Wow.
So it's a very big result. So just misting this kind of water in the air, we are able to create a safe environment around us. So
it's amazing how much water really does, right? And how much quality structured water can do.
Yeah, correct. And so much we can do to revert what we have done up to now. So
I think we so underappreciate when we just grab a plastic bottle and just drink it, right? Without even knowing what that water is doing, how it's impacting us, how essential it is to us. And in the wrong form, it'll get us by, but it won't be truly optimizing us. And that's
correct.
The difference here. And so, what you said is also wonderful, because you could learn all you want about a subject, but I say until you experience it, until you do those experiments, try it yourself, you won't have a true appreciation for what it does. And for that reason, I've always tried to be a guinea pig and experience as much as life can throw at me, good, bad, everything. And I think with this, you're taking an element such as water and trying to make it in its highest quality, and that's something you'll be able to experience as well. And we have, and I definitely recommend this for everyone and to look into this. So,
yeah, another little experiment for those who have to own a pool, a swimming pool, is just to use water chargers in their swimming pool, and they will see a big decrease in the chlorine, especially when you have those automatic dispenser of chlorine in the swimming pool. We use it in many public swimming pools, and we could see that the chlorine use drops nearly to zero. And so also when you use it in spas, you don't smell chlorine anymore, which is very important, because when you smell chlorine is when chlorine is dangerous for you.
Yes.
So it's an important side effect of that too. And for example, there are people that don't need to put any chemical in the swimming pool. Even then, when they close it for the winter, they cover it. They open it in springtime. The water is still clear, crystal clear. So it's another good use of the water chargers.
Really fascinating stuff, Enrico. Yeah. I'm so glad to have come across this and to be sharing this now, your story and the story of Infinity Water Chargers, because I really do believe moving forward, we're going to have to look at ways to improve the quality of the things that we're constantly ingesting and basically we require to survive, whether that's air, and of course we have to look at that, but water being that element that is so critical to human life, to life on Earth. And so thank you for bringing this out and sharing this with the world. And I do hope people could jump on board and at least look into it. If not, start applying this and get these for their home, their families, because it really is an important piece of being healthy.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. It was a real honor to be your guest tonight.
Thank you.